Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Business Expert Series with views and opinions on topical issues facing business owners right now. Today, we're here with Nick Ledgard from Walker and Sutcliffe Chartered Accountants in Huddersfield. How are you doing, Nick?
I'm good, thanks, Mike. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us today. Looking forward to the interview.
Thanks very much for inviting me on.
Yeah, most welcome. So let's kick things off. If you could give us a little bit of background as to who you are, what exactly you do, and how long you've been doing for, please.
Yeah, I'm a chartered accountant, got a practice in Huddersfield, Walker and Sutcliffe. I qualified in 1994, a long time ago now. To be honest, I always wanted to be an accountant from when I saw my brother qualify. And I thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And I was actually reasonably good at maths. So I thought, yeah, well, I'll do that. And I've really enjoyed it, to be honest with you. And it's not so much the accountancy side of it in terms of debiting and crediting things. I mean, let's be honest, that can be pretty boring. But actually taking that information and helping people and helping them achieve their goals, that's what really drives me forward, and learning new things and trying to pass that on to clients. I love educating people, so I probably could have been a teacher as well, but I love taking that information and passing the bits on that the clients, I'm going to say need, but require and receptive to, and that really drives me and gets me out of bed in the morning.
Good stuff. The people aspect, when we talk to people like yourselves, is always fundamental, really, in what it is that drives people to do what they do and get into what they do. Yeah, definitely that people aspect and helping. So when it comes to the finances of business owners and your experience, what would you say are the most common, say, mistakes or challenges that you find that business owners have when it comes to managing their finances?
Yeah, I think there's probably two things. As an overview, there's probably two things. One is that they don't plan sufficiently in terms of what might be happening in the future. I mean, for me, a 13-week rolling cash flow forecast is imperative in any business. And I think people tend to live on the day-to-day rather than, or could do, that's one of the mistakes they make, rather than actually looking at the future and saying, okay, where are we going? And I think just understanding perhaps the economy and where things might be going and putting that into the plan is really important. But I say if it was one thing, it would be cash flow planning is the important thing. Let's be honest, most businesses do not fail because of a lack of profit. They fail because of a lack of cash flow. But it's also understanding how things might alter as well. So more businesses go bust coming out of a recession than going in, and that's because going in cash, bizarrely, I'm sure all your listeners will already know this, but cash actually improves as working capital requirement in most businesses. There are some exceptions, but in most businesses, working capital requirement reduces. That increases cash. That cash gets used. Then as we pull out of recession, actually you need the extra working capital. That causes the businesses to fail. So that planning, with a little bit of planning and actually looking at where we are within the cycle and making sure that cash flow gap is filled, which is quite possible with a little bit of planning looking forward, is probably the single most important element that I think business owners need to do.
Great, thank you for that, Share. So how do you do it when, so someone comes to you, a business owner, and you sort of recommend, you say like the teaching, the education aspect, do you recommend to them? Or is it, because I know some business owners, they just submit accounts and that's it, they look back and you ask them and they've got, well, my turnover was that last year and that was that. So interested to find out as an accountant how you can improve that situation for business owners when they come through the door.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think part of it is education. It's actually making sure that business owners do understand the set of accounts and how the profit and loss and balance sheet interact, and actually which is more important. And that can be different in different scenarios depending upon what you're trying to do. So it's just talking to people on a regular basis. Like, for instance, we make sure that we contact all our clients on a quarterly basis. Whether they want something or not, as long as they want us to contact them, we ask them first, how would you want to be contacted, etc., which is what you should do. But it's about keeping that regular contact and keeping that information going. You can't teach everybody everything overnight as well. So it's just dropping little bits in, which might be pertinent to where they are at the moment. And then, you can almost see the light bulb coming on as well, which is a great thing to notice. Yeah. And just making sure that they do understand it. Let me be honest, there are some business owners that actually don't want to know. And it may be because they're doing really well and they're really happy. And actually that can be absolutely fine because their drivers might be something completely different. So it's understanding the business owners' drivers as well as to what's important to them at the time, and making sure that we can actually then fulfill the goals that come from those drivers, or help them to fulfill them.
Fantastic. So through your eyes as an accountant, you mentioned the economy and business owners forecasting around that. What do you see as the sort of major aspects of the economy over the next year that you can sort of forecast and look at when it comes to managing a business?
That's a really interesting question, Mike, because I've just said it's all about forecasting, and yet the one thing that I think is prevalent at the minute within business owners and the economy is uncertainty.
Sure. That's something you can forecast, is uncertainty, but how that reflects in the finances.
But that means you need different forecasts.
Yeah.
You need to flex things. You need to have a lot of sensitivity in there and different scenarios forecasted. So you can say, if this happens, what are we going to do? If this happens, what are we going to do? So it almost feels like, oh, it's uncertainty, so we can't forecast it. But actually, it means you need to do more forecasting and think about what are the potential scenarios, forecast each one or the main ones, and then you can actually say, right, if this happens, we can do it. And it almost means that because you've got the confidence that you've got the answers if it happens, you can almost drive forward and make sure it doesn't happen for your business.
Yes.
One of the things I do say to people is that if you're being chased by a lion, you don't need to run faster than the lion. You just need to run faster than the bloke running next to you. And that's true in business. So if you're ahead of your peer group, your competition, then actually, even if the economy is shrinking and things aren't happening, if you're the head of the game, you're going to be all right. Your business will be secure, and you will be able to charge more prices, because often in these sort of situations as well, people want to know that you will be there. It will be secure supply. It will be good advice. And that actually means you can charge more.
You can use it to your advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. That's a great share. Thank you for that. So Nick, as a business owner and all the experience that you've got, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you have had to date in so far done?
It's an interesting one. It's an interesting question, yeah, because I think it's to listen more and not prejudge any situation or any client. Thinking back when you started, you think that you know the answer to everything, that your way is the only way, and that's just completely not true. And I think all your listeners will realize that and understand that there are so many different drivers that means that advice can be different. So I think we need to listen a lot more, certainly as accountants and business advisors, to understand the individual and where the individual's trying to get to, because the advice could be completely different. So I think it's listen more, work with the people, and don't be prescriptive, if I'm going to narrow it down to a single sort of phrase. And the journey changes. I mean, I often say to clients that we're a bit like a sat nav, that we will try and plan the route, and we will try and point out where the roadworks are and the problems are, but we will navigate around them. But they're still the ones driving the car. They're still the ones driving the business. And if they go off route, what we'll try and do is replan it. But the route could change as well. So it's keep talking on a regular basis and listen more. That's what I would suggest that everybody needs to do.
That's a great share. Thank you very much. Not just in business, but in life as well. You could reflect that. We all got something to learn off each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that in any relationship, the only way you can change it is by changing your input into that relationship. The other person's input will change, but only as a result of you changing. So don't expect a relationship to change by somebody else changing. It's got to be you. And that's true in business as well. That's true when you're looking at and interacting with your team, when you're interacting with your suppliers, your customers. You need to change if you want something to change. As they say, that one of the definitions of insanity, isn't it, is doing the same things and expecting different results. Well, yeah, the only person that can actually change something is yourself. So you need to do that.
Good share. Thank you. So what inspires you to do what you do? Could be people that you work with, so the clients, customers, your team, friends, family, anything you read, listen to?
Obviously family. You want to look after family. I want to look after my Debbie. We haven't got any kids. I've got a crazy English Springer Spaniel called Dexter, who takes quite a bit of time up, but should have seen the state of him yesterday. He was just completely mud. But that's the current weather situation. So yeah, trying to look after them and protect them. But I think that's true for anybody. You want to protect your family, but also the team here. I mean, we are a small firm of accountants. There's only 10 of us. But I do view them as part of my larger family, and I want to protect them and look after them, and do initiatives wherever I can to try and make sure we do that. But in terms of clients and everything else, it's seeing success, it's seeing them succeed and them achieve their goals in a way which isn't too stressful. So, work-life balance, by the way, I hate the phrase work-life balance, because that automatically says that work isn't part of life, and actually work is part of life. So I think you've got a work life and a home life. There needs to be a balance, but work is life. And if you have a positive attitude towards it like that, then actually the balance becomes a little easier as well, because it is part of what you do, part of your life, as opposed to being something that you have to do just to have the other bit. Your life's only quite small. So seeing success is the real key. That's what I really enjoy, in seeing clients achieve things that they want to achieve. I suppose it's almost a take on, it's better to give than receive, isn't it? That you see somebody else succeed, and if you've helped to input in that, you feel like, you've given something, and it is a fantastic feeling.
Definitely. I think there's plenty of research around giving is more rewarding than receiving. So if you're in a position to give, it's a fantastic thing to be able to do. Yeah,
and I think we all are. We've all got, knowledge, information, experiences that other people haven't got. So sharing those in a good way, which is all we do, really. I mean, let's be honest, it's not rocket science, but sometimes, and it's true for all humans, I think, that you can get too close to the wood for the trees. So, you just need that person that's slightly detached that can just bring things back into focus. And that's really all that we're doing in many ways. It's not rocket science. As an old boss of mine used to say, there's only one thing that is, which obviously is rocket science. But so a lot of it is common sense, but sometimes common sense needs pointing out and just helping in terms of how we can make sure that we measure it. You asked earlier about what two things would I recommend, and I was talking about planning, but I think it's measuring as well. If you don't measure things so you can actually go back and see how you're doing, then all the planning in the world is actually worthless. So it's got to be linked with that as well.
Logic versus emotion.
Yeah.
Use a lot here at Action Coach, is having that data to back up your forecast, your decisions, and so you're moving ahead with concrete knowledge and not just on gut instinct, which sometimes may be right, or an emotional feeling of.
I would never say ignore gut feelings at all, because often the first impressions are correct, but you might just want to back that up with certain other things before you actually take a huge decision. But at the end of the day as well, if you can live with the consequences of any decision, then actually doing nothing is probably the wrong decision.
Yes, taking action is often better.
Which Action Coach, I would guess that you would be all for that.
I'm putting in all the lines here, but no, it's the way the conversations go, that's great. Another good share. Thank you very much. So lastly, what impact do you want to have on your business community that you work with? There's a summary of that you'd like to sort of create.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because I'm not one that wants the name in lights or anything like that in terms of anything. I just want people to have got the best that they could, and I know that I've actually helped to that. And if other people then recognise that and get it out there, then that's fantastic. So I'd like to leave a legacy, but not necessarily a legacy that perhaps lots of people know or it's shouted about. It's that the ones that do matter know and appreciate, and that people know that, I'm somebody who was bothered. I think that's what I really like, is that every client that has walked through these doors afterwards says, I was looked after well.
Brilliant. That's great to know that you care. I think would be a good. Thank you very much, Nick. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I really appreciate you sharing all your experiences. and I wish you all the best for the future.
Mike, thanks so much for inviting me. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and have a good day.